Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to today's Sufi teachings. This Sufi teaching series occurs on the second Sunday of the month at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It is organized and underwritten by the Sufi Center, Minnesota, with the intention of making the Sufi teachings of peace, love, mercy, justice, freedom, and beauty available to people everywhere. This teaching is being recorded, and you can find the recording within a day by going to the Sufi Center Minnesota public YouTube site. Please understand that if you ask a question or make a comment during the course of this teaching, you are consenting to have your voice appear on our YouTube channel. While you can see the thumbnails of other participants on your computer or TV during the broadcast, the recording only records the image of the teacher. Please keep yourself on mute during the teaching unless Amany opens the floor to questions and you want to ask a question, at which time you can unmute yourself. If you move your cursor to the lower part of your screen, you'll see a bar appear with settings. There's a microphone icon at the lower left, which you can use to mute and unmute yourself. Also, if you don't want your image to appear to other participants, there is a stop video icon next to the microphone, which will stop broadcasting your image while keeping you connected to the class. If you have a logistical question about the broadcast, you can privately text me in the chat box, which appears towards the middle bottom of your screen. We're very excited and very grateful to have a beautiful Sufi teacher, Amany Shalaby, with us today. Amany was the longtime interpreter for our beloved guide, Sidi Muhammad al-Jamal of Jerusalem. She's a teacher on Islamic spirituality and an author and translator of Islamic books. Her teaching today is on the meaning of completion, al-Insan al-Kamil, the complete human. Amany, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be with everyone and connecting with everyone. And so please let us start with Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. صدق الله العظيم. Oh Allah, we glorify you as you ought to be glorified, and we praise you as you ought to be praised. And we thank you for all of your blessings, for all the experiences, the learning, the gifts, and everything you bestow upon us. Oh Allah, please continue to guide us to the path of completion, to be conscious of your perfection, your beauty, and your majesty. Help us to be conscious of you and show us the truth as truth and give us the strength to follow it. And show us falsehood as falsehood and give us the strength to abandon it. Protect us and heal us and help us to follow the footsteps of all the prophets and the spiritual guides you gifted us with. We send our peace and blessing upon Prophet Muhammad, his family and companion, upon Prophet Ibrahim, his family and companions, and we send the peace and the blessing upon all the prophets and their companions, their families and their followers until the day of judgment. Oh Allah, we ask you to reward our guide Sidi for all the service and the gifts he given us, and the guidance and the services and the help he give everyone, and forgive his faults and overlook his shortcomings, for you are all knowing and you are all powerful, all forgiving and all merciful. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So today, inshallah, we will talk about completion or perfection, al-Kamal in Arabic language. Most of this teaching is driven from Sidi book, The Reality of Imagination, which is one of my most beloved books, favorite books. And I recommend that you all go and read this book, or at least read starting from the chapter that is called On the Reality of Perfection and Beauty until the end. And of course, it's an integration of other teaching and other Sufi teachers such as Ibn Arabi, and my own experience and understanding as I reflect on all of that. So Sidi wrote in the beginning of that chapter, perfection, completion is a secret, sir, in the existent beauty, hidden and manifest. So it's a secret because sometimes it is not so obvious. When we look on the outer world, we might see the perfection of the physical reality, the trees, the nature, the human beings, the animals, the birds, the stars. But sometimes when in the interaction between the creatures, especially the human beings, we might actually lose that sight of the perfection and beauty. And we want to try to contemplate that a little deeper, to see that perfection is never absent. It is always existent, even though it could be in the hidden realm or the subtle realm. But to exemplify that, let us see how each creation has a potential to reach. But even before it reaches that potential, it is still beautiful. If you look, for example, at a seed, the seed goes through stages, but just as it is a seed, it still have a perfection within it. It is still in perfect state or stage that prepare it. Without that stage, there would be no sprout, no seedling, no tree, no fruits. So it still holds that perfection. But if we don't plant it, water it, and so forth, it might not reach to a higher, not to higher, to more expansive perfection and new expressions. It might just keep itself as a seed. So similarly, when we look at ourselves as a human being, we are having this seed, which is called also the seed of love, because the word love, hub in Arabic language, share the same root verb of hab, seed. So we are born with that seed. It might remain as it is, or it might actually sprout and expand with new expressions of love, and it can grow into seedling, into a tree, an expansive tree that give fruits to the creation and to everyone around it, and give new seeds. It transforms. So this act of transformation always happens through love. Like Ibn Arabi said, love, the movement of the world from non-existence into existence, is a movement of love. Sidi says all creation is perfect. There is no, and Al-Ghazali, another Sufi teacher, says there is no perfect other than what it is. Because what it is came from love, and it will transform through love to more beauty, or to a new expression of beauty. So it will always sprout from the force of love, the creative force that is the creator. The creator is love. And another Sufi saying is that God does not look at the world until after he has made it beautiful and arranged it harmoniously in a harmonious way, so that it receives what he brings to it in his revelation according to the beauty of its aptitude. So Ibn Arabi speaks of what he calls immutable existence or beings. It is the way to understand it. We are in the mind or consciousness of Allah. Before we become, we are in the divine consciousness, awareness, knowledge, and we are in perfect beauty. So just by being here, we came out of that, and Allah always looking at us from that immutable beauty. So he's always keeping us in this beauty and increasing this beauty. So he either keep us in that level of beauty, or he expands us in more new beautiful expressions. So God's gaze is always gazing at the creation as beautiful and gazing to keep it, preserve its beauty, and expand its beauty to new creative expressions of his divine qualities. God gives everything its creation, the Quran says, thereby completing it. Then he guides to the acquisition of perfection. So whoever is rightly guided becomes perfect, but whoever has stopped with his completion has been deprived. So Ibn Arabi is telling us what I was saying, the example of the seed. So whoever is rightly guided becomes perfect, becomes complete, because you are aware of the perfection that is already there, which is the divine beautiful qualities, and you are willing to surrender to the new creation. But whoever stops with his completion, that becomes full of himself or full of that moment and not open to the new moment, not open to the new creation, he has been deprived, because he's not he's resisting the new creation that Allah trying to bring. So we will talk a little bit more deeper with the focus on the human being, of course. Allah gave us all the perfect faculties by which we can perceive the world, interact, and gain knowledge of ourselves and Allah, and then express that knowledge into action, adding to the universe beauty. So he gave us the physical senses, for example, as the messengers of the soul. Sidi calls the senses the messengers of the soul. So these senses have the physical senses, or the five senses that we know. Then it have also the intellectual senses, the feelings, the inner sensations, and then it has the intuition and the imagination. So if we take each separately, we can contemplate the meaning of completion or perfection or its potential that we need, because it is perfect as it is, but how can we see that perfection, that beauty, and help it to sprout into the new or adding potential that it can reach. So the physical senses are like seeing and hearing, smelling, touching, and each of them has its beauty and perfection. For example, seeing. Seeing means you are aware of beauty. So seeing, if we look from only the physical perspective, we might think that if you have like a 20/20 like sight, perfect sight. But no, it is not like that. A blind person, for example, who is sitting on a beach or in front of someone and is fully aware of the love of the situation, of the reality, he could be seeing more than a person who have a perfect eyesight, but he is too busy or too occupied that he can't see the beauty of the beach. That he, or he could be very angry that he miss looking at the beautiful tree in front of him. We pass by trees all the time, but we are preoccupied with other things that we can't comprehend that beauty. We cannot be aware of it. But again, a person with a weak eyesight or even completely blind, if he has that awareness of what is before him and he not preoccupied with the desires, the fears, the anger, the other things that may occupy the human being consciousness, then if his heart is fully present and turning towards that which is the object of knowledge, then he might be having the perfect side, and that his sense of seeing reaches its potential, seeing the beauty, seeing what need to be seen, like the perception of what is already there. Hearing, but that can be also, like the seeing can be diseased. The diseases of sight is in looking with envy, looking lustful look, looking an envious look, and this you immediately, if you are purified yourself, then you feel the fire inside right away, the shame of feeling this. But if you are in covering these feelings up, then this becomes faint, and there is a danger in having this faint feeling, or numb, become numb, because you don't become alive when you are numb. But if you're feeling the pain, the shame, all of these are a sign that you are awake and that you are aware. And if you understand it correctly and turn it to Allah, then it holds again the potential of expanding your awareness, expanding the beauty, and bringing forth the beautiful qualities that Allah is wanting you to bring to the world. So hearing, for example, again, it's about hearing with understanding. If hearing is just hearing a noise without actually associating it with understanding, it will be meaningless. But the true hearing is listening to the deep need of yourself first, and also with the people around you or the creation around you. This deep listening to the need is different than listening to the wants, the lower desires. The deep need is for you or for anyone else is to know the divine qualities and to know what qualities seek to be brought. But if we are confusing it with our desires and only focusing on the sense of hearing or the lower level, then we miss that. So the sense of hearing has this potential of being purified, of listening to everything and seeing the beauty in these voices. And it can be diseased when we use it to listen to backbiting, rumors, or we involve it in also lust or indecency and so forth. And the sense of touching can also be reach its potential, its beautiful potential of expressing the mercy, the love, the forgiveness, the help, the care, or it could be diseased where touch can become a touch of violence, a touch of violating someone, or being lustful, being forceful, and or stealing or robbing people from their rights. And the sense of tasting can come with gratitude and awareness. If you notice, yourself. If you are preoccupied or you're in a sad mood or bitter mood or angry mood and you're eating, you almost don't really enjoy the food, you don't enjoy the tasting. But tasting, if you are fully aware of the tasting, then there is gratitude that comes with it. There is joy that comes with it. And if you miss that, then tasting can be diseased. Everything will be tasteless if you are, people who, if you fall in depression or anger or you're preoccupied with worries, then you're not conscious really with your sense of tasting. You're just doing the physical act, but you're not really grateful for it or seeing its meaning. There are also other deep meaning with tasting when you contemplate the divine qualities that exists in food. There is bitter food, there is sour, the sweet, there is pungent. All of these are reflection of the divine qualities, and actually it has an effect on you. And that is the healthy food should be balanced, but it also should suit your own state, whether you need sweetness or sourness. There is a meaning behind that. So only if we take it to the physical act without even being grateful or aware, then it is diseased. It is perfect because it makes us eat and feed us. It is perfect as it is, but it might just stay that and not sprout into true tasting. And similarly, the smell. The smell is one of the very subtle faculties. And the smell, I just was listening to a research, it's a TED talk actually, where a specialist was saying that actually they discovered that the smell is a vibration. It's called by chemical changes, but it is really in its, because everything is a vibration. So smell is a vibration, it's the essence of the soul movement, the soul's presence. And he spoke, it's a very beautiful talk, where he spoke about how the sense of smell has guided us to fulfill his potential in life, starting by being aware of the smell of the orange blossom in his bubble bath as a child. Then he became like a scientist who studies this fragrance and who bring perfumes to the world, new perfumes. And of course, it can take also the spiritual aspect where he becomes aware of that purpose for which he lived and the meanings of the smells. So, and again, if it is diseased, then it is not actually that the nose is diseased. It is more of we're not able to perceive the essence, the vibration that is around us. And the other senses we're talking about is rationality. Rationality, if it is diseased, then it is holding on past misconception, or it is holding on bias and prejudice. So it doesn't make sound, wise judgment. But rationality, when in its full potential, of course, we can't function without rationality. So it is always perfect because it is always existing. It is always present. The seed is always there. But then you can be proud, and we will talk about the tools that makes us do that. But rationality in its full potential can give us sound judgment, wise judgment, and understanding of the true meanings of life and the events, the true meaning of the qualities.
The entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
I hear someone turning some voice.
Please, everybody, mute yourself, especially those of you that have come on recently.
If we look at healing,
أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم.
When we talk about the feelings,
We have sent it down as
feelings are perfect because they give us clues about the situations, but it is how we actually interpret them, how can we make use of them, how to express them is the trouble. So feeling is a beautiful seed, it's a perfect seed. But when we deny them or not acknowledge them, or when we express them without understanding and express them with unhealthy, unwise ways, then they become diseased. So feeling, if pain can make us have beautiful qualities because it can make the quality of endurance and patience and persistence appear. Sadness can be transformed into art and creative project forces, and we've seen many examples of people who do that. So a healthy person, who has his feeling numbed or covered up, or he's just impulsive with acting with the feeling and just not doing anything with it in healthy ways, he not making the feeling sprout. He's resisting that expansion. But those who acknowledge it, submit to it, and submit it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then feeling can help us reach beautiful expressions that can actually add beauty to the world and make us the representative of that divine beauty. Anger, for example, is it's a good seed actually, because it can help us to be aware of an abusive situation, for example, or of some illusion that exists within us. In either case, anger, if we just act by our anger without submitting it to Allah and integrating it with all the other senses, then anger can become a destructive force and abusive force and so forth. But anger can, if we change it, as the Prophet advised us, into a physical activity. He said, if you're angry and sitting, then stand or walk or go do wudu. So there are tools to deal with that. Then you will have a better way to express anger or express the deep feeling behind it and address it. And so that can become more effective. And envy, if we turn it to its healthy potential, it becomes aspiration rather than a fire. It becomes a force for us to actually work and to try to accomplish the purpose for which we are created. And the perfection of imagination, it is to, again, to reach, it's a beautiful seed, because through imagination, we're giving a relief, because we can have the fantasy, for example. But it can also be a disease, because we can live only in fantasy all the time, or we can live in illusion. But imagination, in its healthy potential as it sprouts, it brings the inspiration, it brings the vision, it brings the garden, because everything spiritual exists in, so there is no sense of separation in imagination. Only in the physical world you feel separated from your beloved, for example. But in imagination, everything is with you, is within you. Everything is outside space, time, and this limitation of the physical world. So imagination can open for you the garden, and imagination is the place you can also receive the divine communication. So that is the potential it can reach, but in itself, it's a perfect seed. And intuition also is a beautiful seed, and it can be covered up. And I think I quote something that Sidi said, which I think has to do with intuition, because he speak about the union of the virtuous qualities within the human being in a moderate way. He identified perfection as the union of the virtuous qualities within the human being in a moderate way, and in how the person applies them in life, which achieves the balance and the sense of fulfillment. And so intuition usually is covered up, or it is informed with wrong rationality, or fantasy, or it is informed of heedlessness. So that is when it stays as a seed. But when we submit our intuition to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and through the spiritual work that we do and the practices, then intuition becomes aware and starts to sprout. And when it sprouts, it brings intuitively, you start to understand people, you understand life intuitively, you know what to do. And the intuition must be, as Sidi says, informed with knowledge and power. Because knowledge give you the wisdom, and power give you the ability to act. So Sidi actually summoned the 4 basic qualities that we have to rely on, or that actually underneath them all the other quality can stem from them. He talks about wisdom, courage, justice, and iffa in Arabic language, which could be modesty, or could be translated as chastity or abstinence. And we can go through those one by one also, because it's important, but I don't want to keep talking without giving people also the opportunity to ask questions. So if you have a question about what we talked so far, but even before we go through that, because we want to reach the potential of these faculties, and the completion or the perfection we are striving for is when they all integrated in the life experience in the moment. And how to do that is by making our desires only to feel the divine presence, to making our understanding only comes from the divine presence, from the truly real, and to become aware of the moment, not to live in the past or the illusion or the future, but to live in the moment. What is in before me now, and what is its meaning? How do I feel? And to communicate with Allah through the realm of imagination as well, and to receive the inspiration and to act intuitively from that. So the more we do it, the more we train the ego. But even when we fall in the wrongdoing, what we call wrongdoing or heedlessness or unhealthy behavior or all of that, or the sense of separating and fragmenting oneself rather than integrating all of our faculties, even when we fall in that, there is beauty in it. So Ibn Arabi says the sense of being separated from Allah and the sense of being near to Allah, they both are two faces to same reality, because there is no real separation. So the way he puts it, which spoke to me clearly, is when he said, while you are aware of doing something wrong, in this very awareness, you are near to Allah, because He gave you that sense. So you're never separate from Allah. So even when you feel you done wrong, or you feel all of these negative feeling, or you miss that just by being aware of that, this is the essence of being near to Allah. So that's why the Sufis see both the hell and the garden as perfect, they accept both what Allah gives them, because they feel closeness to Allah. They are not veiled anymore from seeing Allah through it, accepting, because the fire is to efface the illusion, is to efface and burn away all the illusion and bring forth the new creation. While the garden is the expansion. But even the hellfire comes also with its pleasure. Ibn Arabi points that by saying that the word azab in Arabic language, which translated as punishment or as suffering consequences, it shares the same root verb with uzuba, sweetness. So there is pleasure in it. So for example, I was just speaking in the other class the other day, and I give example of the people who are, for example, pursuing lust. They already have a fleeting pleasure that they experience. Well, that's the nature of hellfire. So that's Allah's mercy. He didn't make it all like suffering. There is a level of pleasure. It's a fleeting pleasure because of the choice of the person to choose the changeable, the perishable, and not the everlasting. But it's still in it is a fleeting pleasure, never fulfilling, never truly fulfilling. But when we pursue the garden and the expansion with the becoming the representative of the godly qualities of peace, justice, love, compassion, mercy, then we feel fulfilled inside. And when we feel fulfilled inside, that stays with us. It is not perishable. We carry knowledge, we carry wisdom, we carry mercy, and that is not perishable. It is not a physical thing we are seeking to possess or control, and that gives us more fulfillment. I know I talked a lot. I'll give people a chance to ask before I talk about the four main qualities that Sidi's mentioned as a container of completion, of perfection.
So if anyone would like to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and ask Amany. Did someone want to ask a question? Well, Amany, it appears not yet.
Okay, sometimes by the end people start. So Sidi spoke about those four qualities, and he said that wisdom comes from knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, so those four qualities are knowledge, wisdom, courage, justice, and iffa, what he called iffa, which is hard to translate, but let us say it's decency, it's chastity, it's abstinence. So wisdom comes from knowledge. And knowledge comes from our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is related to the intellectual, to the rationality. Remember, I talked about the senses. We have the five senses, the physical, we have the feelings, we have the rationality, intuition, and the imagination. So wisdom related to the intellect, the white intellect. That's what our potential. Then there is courage. Courage comes with feelings, because Sidi talks about courage as having endurance, having the struggle against the ego. So having to be generous and patience and all of these. So he summed it under courage. You have to face what you have to face feeling wise with courage. Then Sidi talks about the iffa, again, the chastity, modesty, decency, and that has to do with imagination, which why I said that, because when you single your desire and becomes only the divine love and the divine presence, then it burns away the lust and the old pursuit of limited things, because you free yourself and you are only looking for the unlimited expression of Allah. What happens is that our desires make us lust for limited things, such as a beloved or a job or money or health, wealth, whatever it is in the physical sense. But behind that, there is a meaning. There is a quality, a divine quality that need to be expressed and known, and not to stay dormant within us. So the way we pursue it is through the realm of imagination. We single our desires and our towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we realize that the whole universe is inside the spiritual realm, or that threshold, the imagination. And in that you will find everything your heart desire, and you can see the meaning through it, because meaning embody forms. So when you look at the imagination, at the meanings, and you know the qualities that communicated to you and seek to manifest through you, then you feel fulfilled, because it doesn't matter how it will happen in the outer world. For example, let me give a concrete example. If you are after a beloved, for example, and you can't have this beloved because he doesn't share the same feeling, or he or she is married, or something like that, what attracted you to the beloved is the divine qualities that you want to find, these qualities within you. So it's a mirror that attracting you. So you look within to the imagination, and you ask Allah, of course, through your prayer and spiritual practices, to show you. Then you will not feel separated from anyone or anything, because everyone is with you. But Allah will communicate through the spirit of that person, or the image of that person, the meaning behind it, the qualities that he seeks to make you aware of and make you embrace. And when you embrace that, then it becomes the garden, because you will express these qualities in other ways, in accordance to the Sharia, in accordance to what is available. And so you're not reliant or dependent on a form, a single particular form that is perishable or will not fulfill you, but you are opening yourself to the limitless expressions. And only when you embrace the qualities that seek to bring you to be aware of it, the divine qualities, and then you express it even in a different way, not necessarily with that job or that beloved, or that Allah will help you to express it in different limitless forms. Only then you would feel fulfilled. And so whatever direction it will take in the physical world will not be a torment to you, or not be a cause of suffering, but a cause of expansion. And so the idea of the garden is that everything is within it, and you are near to Allah. So it is like the example of when you are with your beloved. You are present and aware of your beloved, and it is not anymore a longing for because you feel separation, but it stimulates you. It's a continuous longing. Like, for example, if two lovers together, they already met, they are already in each other's presence. So there is the talking, the touching, the embrace, which it happens with longing, but it is not a desperate longing. It's a longing in the presence of the beloved. So it is a more fulfilling, a more expanding. So similarly, when you take whatever disturbing you to the realm of imagination, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where the garden has everything you want, and Allah communicates through the form, through the image, through the spirit, the meaning and the qualities, then you will not have this desperate longing, because there is no sense of separation, but it is rather stimulates you continuously to bring new beautiful expressions and to embrace these qualities, this divine quality. So there is nearness, and that is the balance between always desiring, because the creation is continuous. So you're always desiring something new, whatever it is, but you have to have also fulfillment. And the balance is in that consciousness of the divine presence, that you are not separate, that you are with Allah. And so the longing becomes again a stimulation in the divine presence, in the presence of the beloved, not a longing because his distance or your distance from the beloved. So this is what distinguishes the fire from the garden. And again, I encourage you to read that chapter, because Sidi expressed all of that beautifully. And I'm just adding also my interpretation and understanding based on my own experience. So when Sidi speaks about those 4 qualities, again, one is related to the intellectual potential, which is wisdom and knowledge. The Quran says whoever attain wisdom, it's the greatest fortune that anyone can have. So knowledge and wisdom. And then courage, Sidi said, has to do with the nervous system. It's also intuition and feeling, where you have the courage to face what is before you, to face your state, to face your feeling, to face the reality as it is. And then you can see the beauty in it, and you can embrace the divine qualities through it. The other is justice. Only with knowledge, again, they have to be integrated. Knowledge and wisdom and courage can produce the effective justice, the sustainable justice, not just justice that comes from the ego of right and wrong, but comes with the wisdom and the mercy. And then there is the abstinence, where you single your desire to become only for Allah, and you abstain from being dependent on a single form, and being open to the limitless, to the infinite possibilities that holds your potentials. So all other qualities, Sidi says, comes from that. Maybe I should stop also and check if there are questions to bring discussions or interactions.
If there are any questions, please unmute yourself and ask Amany.
Amany,
Yes.
I tuned in just a little late. So when you just were referencing Sidi's chapter where he was writing this wisdom for us, I'm not sure which book, which chapter you're referring to.
It is the reality of the imagination. The whole book is beautiful, but if you especially focus on the chapter that says on the reality of perfection and beauty, and you read and write from that chapter until the end, it's not too long, but it really, really contains a lot of treasure, and it's very awakening and beautiful.
Thank you.
Amany, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, this is Sara from Argentina. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Good. Well, first I wanted to tell you that I translated your last talk into Spanish. So if you want to see it in English to see if it's okay, it can become available to whomever wants it.
Alhamdulillah. So you said you are translating this
No,
or the book?
you did before.
Sidi's book?
No, your last talk.
Oh, the last talk. Okay, alhamdulillah.
Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Oh, alhamdulillah. I'm so happy. And then I wanted to ask you, because I didn't understand very well, my heart really yearns for friends, and I don't have that many. So I don't know how to do that in the realm of imagination. I didn't understand your explanation very well.
That's very good. I want someone to ask so we can bring it to a practical way. So you yearn for friends. Let me ask you, why do you yearn for friends?
Because I feel I have so much to give.
Yes.
And so much love in my heart, and I want to share everything that I've learned at university and through my own walking, which has been and is pretty hard at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I already do that in my work because I work with little kids, but I don't have friends, and I would like to have friends. I always wanted to have friends.
Alhamdulillah, that's beautiful. So it is the quality of the giver and the quality of wanting to have intimacy, because our Sufi way is about being intimate with people and of course with life, with the divine presence, with oneself. So you are longing to be to the quality to be the representative of the divine quality of the giver, and to also feel that intimacy with connection with adults, not only children. So if you take that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and really go deep in the spiritual experience, then you will find, you may start to experience, when the realm of imagination open, you may already meet these spirits. You can meet, of course, all of us that you already know as friends in the way, but you will also might see other friends, the spirits of those friends in the realm of imagination. And so the more you would embrace this friendship, and you don't feel like alone, you feel like you are already with them, because Allah is with you, so you already don't feel lonely. It shouldn't come from the feeling of loneliness, but rather than the feeling of I am already with Allah, I'm already with the friends. And when you start to converse with those friends and in the realm of imagination, it is not like you become crazy. People will say it's crazy, but it is not, because when Allah shows it, it will become spontaneous. It won't actually be your fantasy. It will be when all you have to do is to take the matter to Allah and to ask Him to provide for you that friendship, so you will be able to give what He wants you to give. And so through the prayer and through focusing on only on Allah and on wanting to be His representative on that way, then you turn it towards Him, and you turn your focus of Him as present with you. Then that spontaneous imagination would open, and when you would see the spirits and the essence of the friends, and then you embrace that, and you feel they are already present with you. They are not actually separate, and you feel trusting that Allah he's bringing this spirit is with you. And so that can start to open the way to the physical reality to open in ways maybe not expected, because we have a certain expectation about how friendship could be or how could we pursue it, but Allah will open it for you to be brought in unexpected ways.
Thank you very much. You made me cry because I remember Sidi and he's my friend.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah.
Are there any other questions for Amany?
Hello, Amany. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Assalamu alaikum, Amany. This is Rauda.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah, Rauda. Yes.
Yes. I have 2 questions. The reign of imagination is the same as malakut. And my second, it's the same thing, okay. And my second question, Sarah made me remember, because now I live alone. And sometimes I do feel lonely. And a couple of days ago, I prayed to Allah that the angels might come and keep me company when I'm lonely, like recognizing that I do feel lonely, giving this a space, but also saying, Allah, this is how I'm feeling, this is the truth sometimes of how I feel, and praying to Allah that the angels keep company with me when I feel this way. Is this all right? Is this prayer correct?
Yes, it's good to acknowledge one feeling, of course, and to take it to Allah, which you have done. So, alhamdulillah for that He made you aware that you are longing for something. And so that is a sign so that you're not actually numb, you're alive. And so you took it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think for me, from my experience, you ask him only not to make you lonely. How he will do it, it's like you open to the limitless. Even with asking for friends too, you open to the limitless. Like you say, Allah, I want to give people, or I want not to feel lonely. So please help me not to feel that. And so he can bring unlimited solutions to you, unexpected ways. Yes, you're asking for angels, but he might make that loneliness disappear with actual people, for example, or actual other ways, or just by feeling his presence and intimate with him, just by being alone and being comfortable. That's when you feel the divine presence. There is no loneliness in it. So in a way, you can ask about the specific things, but you can also ask Allah with trusting He can bring about a solution for whatever you're facing in very unexpected and limitless ways. So you say, Allah, I feel the loneliness. What is this? What is the meaning of this? Which quality that you want me to embrace and want me to express? I want to feel your presence and I want to be with you. And then he might bring the angels, he might bring people, he might open the realm of imagination. You see the garden and you see spirits, but that actually transform later to something in the concrete physical reality that you don't expect. Like I was remembering I was making a talk with Salima with the Farm of Peace or something. And me and Salima both said, we didn't expect this life we are living now. Probably we had another picture for it. but what Allah chose for us was much better. So it might be that your loneliness is because Allah will use you in ways, unexpected ways, that will bring that fulfillment and take you out of your loneliness. It may not be necessary through the angels. It could be through limitless ways, and one way He knows better than you. So just by submitting the matter, whatever it is, and say, okay, Allah, what is the quality that you need me to know through this? And let me surrender to it. And then you feel intimacy with Him in the spiritual realm, where you feel even the essences and the spirits that He makes them embody the meanings is Him. There is nothing but Him. He's communicating to you through the spirit that you see in the realm of imagination. So you single your desire for Allah, and then Allah send His fulfillment through many forms. He will talk to through the forms of imagination, then He will give inspiration, then He will give you an understanding and give you the power to embrace that divine quality and become its representative in the world, maybe in a way that you don't expect, and that will give you a sense of fulfillment. So we acknowledge our feeling, we turn it to Allah, we ask for the relief in whatever way Allah chooses. I hope that will help a little bit.
Oh, that I'm deeply touched, and I thank you very much. It's been very, very clear. Thank you, Amany.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Amany, we find ourselves at time. I would like to thank you for your teaching today. I'd also like to thank you for the many years of service that you've devoted to Sidi, to individual beloveds, and to our entire tariqah. I think that I can speak for our tariqah in saying that we appreciate you and we feel profound gratitude for you, and we have a deep, deep love for you. And you have shown us and unveiled to us what Sidi referred to as the beauty of the real Islam. And it's with profound gratitude and appreciation that we feel your heart as one of our hearts. So thank you very much, Amany.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you very much again for inviting me. And I feel very grateful to be part of the tariqah, and I feel I also received much more, the love, and alhamdulillah. Thank you very much.
Would you be so kind as to conclude our teaching today with the Fatiha, inshallah?
Yes, inshallah, we ask Allah to open the way for us to fulfill the potentials He created us for, and to be His servant and representative, and to help us feel fulfilled by His divine presence with the perfection of His Jalal and Jamal. So please open for us the way. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. صدق الله العظيم. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.